I call this meeting of the Duncanville Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of trustees is present, and this meeting has been duly called. And notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. We will now move to the first report and conduct a public hearing presented by Dr. Ed Bigby. And this is not like a first report. First, FIRST, is an acronym for Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. Did I do that all right? Like
You did good. Would you like to finish? As you know, every year the Texas Education Agency evaluates every district through the first system. As Ms. Fay said, there has to be a presentation to the board and then a public hearing follow that. So we're going to do the presentation to you quickly. This is the 17th year that we've had first. Oddly enough, I remember the first one. So that's a little scary. The ideal is so that TEA will actually have a system of knowing where school districts are financially. The district, Duncanville's always earned the highest possible rating. It was either superior. One year it was just pass or fail, but the district did achieve that. And that's certainly an indication of superintendent and the board's ability to take care of taxpayers' money. This year there's 14 indicators. There's been 15 in the past. Duncanville got 92 of the 100 points on the 14 indicators, which gives us a superior rating, which is 90 points and above. We'll go into those indicators where we lost points. Your board book has the entire first because all we're going to cover here is the financial piece of it, but there's other pieces. As you know, there's transactions that involve the board or members, which is your travel or any other reimbursement you might have received, has to be in that report. If the superintendent received outside compensation, then that has to be reported. If there's gifts that have been received over $250 in value, those are reported. And then if there's business transactions between any board members and the district, those have to be reported. So those are in your board book, along with some other areas of first that we'll be covering here. But we'll certainly answer any questions you might have about those. We lost points on two indicators. One was number 8, the same one we lost points on last year. Basically what it says is our long-term liabilities are higher than our long-term assets. And anytime you're working with bond funds, until that money becomes assets, most districts are going to lose some points in this area. We lost 4 points last year. We lost 4 again this year. Number 11, our school district administrative costs were higher than what TEA recommends. This is mostly because of the great push that we've had here in the district academically. We've got a considerable instructional administration people that we've added, and I think that's been reflected in the test scores and then the grade that the district receives. So this is probably going to continue to cost us a few points, but I mean, there's no problem with losing the points. We always want to be in that superior range, but these are the only two that there were any points lost in or any danger of losing any points in. You can see the rating scale, 90 to 100 superior, 80 to 89 is above standard, meet standard 60 to 79. If you're below 60, TA is going to send you a letter. And you don't ever want to get one of those. Just looking around at some of our adjacent districts, these are some scores. I didn't put names on them. These are some scores of the people that touch us. One of them was a 40. Wow. You certainly don't want one of those, but 90, 88, 78, and 40. And that's the presentation. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
We will now.
This is 17-18 data, even though it's the
year before last, right?
Yes.
We will now move to public comments on the first report. Are there any public comments on the first report? I don't think we have any. Well, this hearing has ended. Thank you, Dr. Bigby.
Thank you.
We will now move to the opening ceremonies, and I have asked Cassandra Phillips to lead us. Oh, I am so sorry. Okay. Dr. Bigby, Ms. Kelton had a question. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Bigby. I just have a question regarding indicator 8.
Uh-huh.
And I guess the liabilities exceed the assets. So when will we go from negative to positive?
It should happen in the next one. Once again, this was the 17-18 school year, so we still had all that bond construction. Those all become fixed assets once they're completed, so that it should come up considerably in next year's report.
Okay. So yeah, upon completion of construction of,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bigby. I have asked Ms. Cassandra Phillips to lead us in our invocation. Ms. Phillips?
Thank you, Madam President. Please stand. I think I turned that off. Okay. This evening, we're going to begin by giving thanks and end with the Lord's Prayer. Lord, we thank you for your daily grace and mercy. We pray for guidance, wisdom, peace, and understanding. Lord, we ask that you bless everyone here tonight. As always, Lord, we pray for the protection of all students, their families, and all of your people. Lord, we ask that you form a hedge of protection around them all. We ask that you heal our fellow board members, and we pray that you comfort those in need. And now the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Now I'd like to welcome the Brandenburg Intermediate students to help us with our pledges. And after you lead our pledges, we'd like to shake your hands, okay? I like your shirts. Thank you, students. Go ahead, you may speak. Hey, thank you. Thank you for helping us.
Greetings, Madam President, Dr. Smith, and Board of Trustees. I am Ms. Thompson, the proud principal of Brandenburg Intermediate. And tonight we have our Pause Helpers who are here today. They work around our campus in doing different things like working in the office, they work in teachers' classes, they help the students in the FAST unit, they're library aides, etc. Whatever we need them to do, they pick up trash, they recycle. And so they are our campus leaders, or they're some of our campus leaders. And so starting over here to your right, we have Luis Ramirez, Angel Ariano, Crystal Bowden, Caitlin Polly, Brianna Gonzalez, Amaya Watkins, Naya Davis, Stevie Jackson, and Basilio Penaloza. Anybody from Brandenburg and family members like to stand to support them? Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you, Brandenburg Intermediate, Ms. Thompson. We'll now move to the superintendent's report, and Dr. Smith will give us that report.
All right, thank you, Madam President. Brings me great pleasure this evening to report to you the following items. First, I want to report to you an opportunity that we had a few weeks ago. On November 2nd, we celebrated the 90th anniversary of Central Elementary. And so I was pleased to have two of our board members there. Ms. Cassandra Phillips, Ms. Renee McNeely joined us, and Ms. Parker put on a wonderful event. It was an opportunity to just celebrate the history and the tradition at Central Elementary. I learned so much about that history and tradition, met so many people. Bobby Goldman, who is now 83 years old, he talked about starting first grade in Central back in 1942. And at that time, the school went all the way up to 12th grade. And so looking at photos of Mr. Smithy's yearbook that he shared with us standing there definitely helped to really validate the traditions and get an understanding of the history associated with Central Elementary. So we appreciate Ms. Parker. We also dedicated a new bench in the school's courtyard. The mayor of Duncanville, Mayor Gordon, joined us as well, and he shared words of recognition. So had a really good time there and enjoyed celebrating that event. The next item that I have for you, actually, board member Ms. Janet Veracruz and I had an opportunity to address some parents last Thursday. I believe that was last Thursday at a My Future, My Choice meeting. And so we've been talking about My Future, My Choice campaign. And so there was an event put on at the high school last week to really educate our parents on the various options that we provide in our district, as well as to help them get prepared for the FAFSA process. And so you see there we talked about career and technology, our advanced academics, dual credit, advanced placement, several of the items and that you see listed there. And so it was an opportunity to showcase that event. And myself and our board member, Ms. Veracruz, had an opportunity to address the parents that were there. And so in our My Future, My campaign ad, we have several components that will be rolling out for our community and our stakeholders over the next several days and weeks. We have billboards that'll be advertised at 3 locations throughout the community. We have a commercial that we'll be demonstrating and showing to you here just in a little bit that will begin airing on social media actually today, with plans to expand in the upcoming weeks as our choice enrollment options begin in December and January. And we also will continue to promote through all of our social media platforms, through direct mail, and a number of other communication opportunities, our My Future, My Choice. And so this document was developed by our staff, and this document shows the opportunities that are available at Duncanville High School. To our knowledge, we did have a representative from TEA in the district last week, and to our knowledge, we're the only district in the state of Texas that has all of the programs that you see under one roof at one high school. There may be a high school in other districts that is a T-STEM high school, and then another high school that serves as the Collegiate Academy Early College High School, and then another high school separate and apart that serves as a P-TECH. Well, in Duncanville, all of those programs are housed under one building at Duncanville High School. And to our knowledge, that's the only one in Texas that has it. So that makes us unique, and it makes us stand out amongst all the schools in the state. And so it also speaks to the commitment of our opportunities that we provide for our students. Each one of those are tailor-made to address students and their particular needs and interests. You often hear us talk about the 29 pathways. Another way of saying that people can kind of relate to is 29 different degree plans, if you will, that you can target a specific area of focus academically. And so we're really proud of that, and we're going to be marketing our My Future My Choice campaign throughout the upcoming weeks and months. And so we're looking forward to sharing all of that information with you as a board and as a collective community. We have a commercial that I want to air here at this time that will be going out through all of our platforms just as part of our campaigning. So if you could share that commercial and air that at this time, that'd be great.
In Duncanville ISD, it's my future and my choice. With 29 career pathways, I have more opportunities than most students outside of Duncanville. And because it's all on one campus, my choices are limitless. Whether it's competing here in our natatorium, performing under the Friday Night Lights, or getting real-life medical experience at a teaching hospital, I have a head start on my future.
I'm Mark Smith.
And I'm London Brackens.
And in Duncanville ISD, we're investing in the next teacher, architect, athlete, dancer, and much more.
And it's my future, my choice.
So thank you. So we'll be marketing this in an aggressive marketing campaign over the next several months as we get geared up to talk about the opportunities we have in the school district to educate and communicate, tell our story, and get our students prepared to take advantage of those opportunities this spring and moving forward. So those are the items that I have to report tonight. I'll turn it back over to Madam President at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Would Dina McFerrin make her way up for a report on our Education Foundation?
Thank you, Madam President. Trustees, thank you so much for having me tonight. You all know I love my job and I love getting to come and talk to y'all about it. We just completed our Champions for Children golf tournament. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
We just completed the Champions for Children golf tournament. It was a wild success. We had great participation from the school district. Thank you so much for that. Poor Dwight Weaver, our wonderful athletic director, he got within that close of winning a brand new car and a hole-in-one. Just that close. So y'all have to come back next year and make it happen. We had so much fun. We're already planning for next year. So he's got to come back and redeem himself. So the golf tournament was great. The next thing we're doing is the Heart of Duncanville 5K that's in February the 29th, which is a Saturday, in case anyone was wondering. We would love to have everyone come and participate. We want a fun spirit of competition. We would love for all the board members to create a team, and even if it's just a cheer team, and come out and support the run. It should be a wonderful event, and we're hoping this year, instead of raining into cold, that it's just cold. Yeah. And we're very excited about it, and those are the updates I have. We are doing great things at the foundation. Oh, the most important thing we're doing. We're in the midst of completely revamping the grant process, all the way from the application through the award process, and all of that should be available and ready to go by the first week of January. So when you come back from break, it'll all be up and ready, and we can get more applications in, we're hoping, and more applications approved. We're also raising money to do that. And that is the state of the union at the foundation. Y'all have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. It's hard for me to call you Miss McFerrin. Okay. Thank you, Dina. It's now time for our recognitions, and Ms. Tiara Richard will be our presenter.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Smith, Board of Trustees. I am here to recognize our Made with Pride in Duncanville student, staff member, and teacher of the month. And again, out of the entire school district of more than 12,000 students, more than 1,700 employees, these individuals were selected out of those individuals to be honored here today. And so I want to make sure that I just put that in perspective when we talk about this award on a monthly basis. Up first, I have our Made with Pride in Duncanville Staff Member of the Month, Mr. Brandon Thomas. So Mr. Brandon Thomas is the network engineer in the technology department. He's been employed with the district for just about a year, but during that time, he has made a huge difference in that department and in the school district as a whole. Brandon exemplifies the PACT, professionalism, accountability, and communication. He displays a high level of professionalism with every situation he encounters. He's polite, he has a great attitude, and he's just always willing to lend a helping hand. You can just really tell that Brandon loves what he does. He's really knowledgeable about his field, and when he's facing a tough situation, he always comes to the table with a solution. And he does it in a way, for those who aren't very techie, to simplify it and make you understand it without making you feel like you're lost. And that's just an invaluable piece, because you make people feel welcome and accepted, and they're included in that discussion about how to rectify that situation. He's just the true definition of a team player. He understands his personal why, and it shows in everything he does. Again, Brandon is wonderful at making sure that people understand what's going on with technology and helping us correct issues when we have them. The last time we had some outages here in the building, Brandon was the one going around and checking in with people and saying, okay, is this working for you now? And just making sure that he is engaging with people in the building and that they're taken care of. And so for this and many, many, many other reasons, we want to recognize Brandon as our Made with Pride in Duncanville Staff Member of the Month. Congratulations, sir. So up next, we have our Made with Pride in Duncanville Teacher of the Month, Mr. Alexander Starr. So Coach Starr is the PE teacher at Central Elementary School. He was selected as Made with Pride just for the work he does with the students there. He started the morning mile at Central. That's where students can come before school and work towards earning these charms that are in the shape of little feet for the amount of miles they walk. And the kids really love getting these charms. They vie for it, they want it, they're very active and want to make sure they have the opportunity to do so. It takes a special person to dedicate themselves to come in early for the better of students. And he just loves doing it and participating during the week and making sure that the kids have an opportunity to really smile. And they're out there trying to beat him as he's running around the campus. And it's really cute watching their little legs try to keep up. And they really want to be there. There are students who have left and left Central and moved on who want to go back and see Coach Starr and make sure that they have an opportunity to tell him what they're doing now. So he builds those long-lasting relationships with the students and just has an absolutely positive atmosphere where he works. So Central Elementary is just lucky to have Coach Starr as a member of their team. And so it's a great honor to recognize Coach Alexander Starr as our Made with Pride in Duncanville Teacher of the Month. Last but not least, we have our Student of the Month, Miss Brianna Martinez. See, Brianna just complimented me. She says, I'm doing great. That's the sort of student she is, though. She wants to encourage everyone around her. So Brianna is a senior at Duncanville High School. She was chosen as this month's Student of the Month because of just the great teamwork, team player she is. That's the one thing I heard consistently. She is a team player. She's a member of the softball team. She's been on varsity all 4 years she's been here. And she's just what any coach would want in a player. Not only that, she advances and works well in the classroom. She does an excellent job maintaining high grades. She's an AB student, finished high in her junior year and working really hard to finish strong her senior year. She's just talented on the field, a caring person, a giving person, and each year she has earned the Superlative Award for our district, which is the best you can get. She has the record for the most stolen bases at Duncanville of all time, and she still has another season to go. Coach Duff described Brianna as a young lady with a lot of determination and a big heart, and she's the sort of player you want on your team, but also in your classroom and in your life. The one thing that, working with Brianna, you actually saw her in the commercial we just did. Brianna was the student who was sitting on the bench, getting taken care of by the nurse, and so she has an acting career also ahead of her. But this is also, in graduating this year, she'll be the first person in her family to graduate with a high school diploma here in the States. And so she's a first generation. And that is something that she and her family are all so, so very proud of, because she's a hard worker and she takes advantage of the opportunities in front of her. So, Brianna, with great honor, I recognize you as our Made with Pride in Duncanville Student of the Month. So while our photographer gets some photos, I want to show you a little bit more about each of our honorees with our Made with Pride in Duncanville video for this month.
Duncanville ISD congratulates the following student, staff member, and teacher who are made with pride in Duncanville.
I love working with little kids. I have a passion to give back to the youth that's coming up these days. Being able to be a physical education teacher, I can incorporate different exercises and activities where the kids can have fun, but at the same time, get more healthier. I think you gotta have a good amount of passion and you gotta have a nice and kind heart. You have to be able to relate to the kids these days, somebody that they can know who trusts and who cares for them.
I am a middle infielder / outfielder, a utility player. It definitely takes a lot of dedication, a lot of heart, because you have to remember why you're playing and who you're playing for. I feel that if you have a really good mindset, that you're gonna be good, you're gonna be great. Whatever I do, I know I wanna come back with more education to help my family.
I'm a network engineer. You may notice your wireless access points that get you on Panthernet and a few other networks, the internet connection, the content filter. Literally, it's a lot of conversations, gauging expectations, kind of future planning, if you will, based on today's need. So I feel like it's a mix of a lot of different worlds. This is a unique group of individuals with a varied skill set, and I think that I'm a great fit here because of that.
These honorees truly are made with pride in Duncanville.
And before I turn the mic over, I would like to ask all of the family members, that includes the school family as well as personal family, who were here today for our honorees, if you wouldn't mind standing so we can share those recognitions with you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Richard. We now move into the communication from citizens to discuss pending agenda items before the board. We do not have any communications from the citizens, so we will go straight into the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Ms. McNeely?
Madam President, I move that we move items 8C, 8D, and 8E to the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Ms. Phillips? Thank you for your second. The motion has been made to amend the agenda as action item 8C, D, and E being added to the consent agenda. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Ms. Cassandra Phillips has made the motion, and Jackie Colton has seconded. The consent agenda be moved as amended. Are there any comments, questions, anything like that? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now we move to our action agenda, and the first item is the audit report and comprehensive annual financial report for 2018-2019, and the presenter is Dr. Ed Bigby.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
Once again,
Okay, right here.
annually, we have to have an audit conducted by an outside audit firm. Weaver and Company has completed that audit, and Claire Wooten is here to go over it. You should have a copy of the PowerPoint there at your place. And once she's finished, I want to come back and talk to you about a couple of things on it. Claire?
Good evening. My name is Claire Wooten, and I'm an Audit Senior Manager at Weaver, and I'm here today to present the results of the audit. So we'll go through the audit process, a quick auditor results, required communications, and then financial highlights. So the engagement timeline is presented. The engagement timeline is presented here in this circular fashion. We start the whole process a couple of months out from our interim fieldwork, where we begin the risk assessment process and planning for the engagement. We then come out for a week in June, July, the summertime, to walk through internal controls, finish the risk assessment, talk with management, and test controls. And then we come out for final field work for 3 weeks during September-October time period, and that's when we test the final trial balance numbers, and we look at the account balances. And then we had our exit meeting with Dr. Smith the week of November 6th, and then we're here tonight to present the final results. And then also on this continuous communication circle, I'm here to just let you know that we are available year-round to discuss any questions that management has for us, any financial decisions, any transactions that they want to walk through to find the financial implications of. Next is the audit process. The audit was performed in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, generally accepted government auditing standards, and then as well with the Uniform Guidance, or the Single Audit Act. And the Single Audit Act and Uniform Guidance is what governs the compliance around your federal financial assistance. The audit process was also risk-based, which means we focus on those areas that would cause the largest material misstatement, the areas that would be most riskiest to the district. So those areas include foundation aid, so the payments from TEA, fictitious vendors, fictitious payroll expenditures, and then the journal entry process. Now to go through the results of the audit. We have issued an unmodified opinion, which is the cleanest opinion you can get. There were no material weaknesses identified and no significant deficiencies identified, and there was no non-compliance that was material to the financial statements. And then for your audit results related to the federal awards, we issued an unmodified opinion, and then Duncanville is considered a low-risk auditee. We also noted for the internal control over major programs, we did not identify any material weaknesses, any significant deficiencies, and no further compliance audit findings. And I just wanted to let you know, we audited special education, IDEA B, and Title I as the major programs this year. which covered 47% of overall federal expenditures. And as a low-risk auditee, we are only required to audit 20% of the federal expenditures. So we got a good coverage this year. So to go through a couple of audit communications. These are the required communications. We have issued an unmodified opinion over the financial statements. In accordance with Yellow Book, our government auditing standards, we've also issued a report noting no audit findings. We've also issued an unmodified opinion on compliance and noted no findings, and that's related to uniform guidance or the Single Audit Act for the federal financial assistance. We noted no unusual transactions, and there were no new accounting principles that were required to be implemented this year or that had any significant impact. We noted no fraud or illegal acts. There were no material weaknesses in internal control over financial reporting or internal control over compliance. We also noted that for management judgments and accounting estimates, we evaluated all management estimates and determined them to be reasonable. We noted no difficulties in working with management. Management was very quick to turn around all of our audit requests, and we had no issues there. Management provided their management rep letter, which allowed us to issue the audit opinion. So management took responsibility for the financial statements in front of you. We're not aware of any management consultations with management consulting with other firms outside of Weaver for audit opinions. And then for auditor independence, the audit team and the firm itself are independent for the audit. There are no past adjustments, which means adjustments that are small enough that management can decide to pass on them. We didn't note any past adjustments or significant audit adjustments either, which just means it's just goes to show you that management has very good control over the accounting records and knows what's going on. And then there have been no other material written communications between management and ourselves. Next, I'm going to go over a few financial highlights for you. So first is a pie graph chart of revenues for the governmental funds of fiscal 2019 and fiscal 2018. Fiscal 2019 revenues totaled $155.7 million, which was an increase of $10.3 million or 7.1% compared to fiscal 18. So that local revenue increased the most, which was $6.6 million, and that was mostly due to rising property values, so you received more tax revenue. State programs remained relatively consistent with prior year and only decreased $419,000, and that was due to the EDA allotment. And then federal programs increased $4 million, and that was due to an increase of $1.8 million of SHARS revenue and an increase of $1.4 million of Title I revenue, and then an increase of $326,000 of miscellaneous federal grants. The next chart is a pie graph comparison chart of your governmental fund expenditures, and then I will go over those changes here. Fiscal 2019 expenditures totaled $151.9 million, which was an increase of $5.6 million or 3.8% compared to 2018. Those largest changes are the result of general fund instruction expenditures, which increased $3.7 million, and that's due to instructional materials purchased in fiscal 19. Also, student transportation increased $1.7 million due to the purchase of buses. Debt service expenditures decreased $1.5 million in fiscal 19 due to decreased interest payments in fiscal 19, and then facilities acquisition and construction costs decreased $5 million due to decreased activity in fiscal 19 as construction projects were wrapping up. And then to go over the governmental fund balance, you'll notice that there is, the general fund has $59.1 million, debt service 11.9, capital projects 10.7, and non-major is the last, smaller part of 1.2, totaling 82.9 million. And those increases in those funds are related to what I was going over earlier. So due to an 8 million increase in general fund balance related to increase in taxable property values, which for your M&O tax rate. And then as well as increase in CHARS revenue. 2.8 million decrease in the capital projects fund balance, and that was related to bond program capital expenditures that decreased this year in fiscal 19. And then lastly, a 2.1 million decrease in debt service fund, and that was related to the decrease in revenue due to the decrease of the INS rate, which was then also offset by a decrease in interest payments. I did, however, want to point out that when you're looking at the basic financial statements in the CAFR, that your first financial statement that you're looking at is the statement of net position. It's on a government-wide overall basis. And so when we're looking at fund balance that I have up here, that's on the fund level. And so you have 82.9 million fund balance, but when you look at the government-wide level, there's a negative about 26 million, and that is just due to there's a negative net position of 25.3, and that's strictly due to the implementation of GASB 75, which occurred last year in fiscal 18. But that put on a significant liability due to the TRS Care and pension plan. So I just wanted to point that out, that your government-wide statement of net position shows it at a different level, and that's not to be concerned with the negative net position. Does anyone have any questions related to the presentation?
Anyone have any questions for Claire? Thank you, Claire. Oh, Jack, you're just gonna have to get a pole and poke me. Ms. Colton?
Well, I have to congratulate you all, number one, on a clean audit report. I think, that's fantastic. And so, you all, Dr. Smith and Dr. Bixby and the others who work hard to achieve that, I congratulate you all, and thank you for that. I just have one question related to the unrestricted net position of 20 million.
Yes.
What exactly is that?
So that's kind of, Dr. Bigby will go into that as well, but that's kind of what I was showing just in my last couple of sentences. It's basically when, in fiscal 18, when the district had to implement GASB 75,
Okay.
we had to put a very large liability on the books, which turned a positive net position into a negative net position. And the liability is not something that it will decrease over time, but it is a liability from TEA. And all the districts had to implement it at the exact same time. And a lot of districts have a negative net position now because of that implementation.
Okay, thank you.
And also, Madam President, just for all the board members, you may recall several months ago, we received a notification, you all received a notification from TEA on this particular item. And so that's, I wanted you to be sure to associate this response with that item, so you can reflect back of what our position truly is.
So many districts are in the exact same position.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Thank you, Claire. Any other comments? Dr. Bigby, we appreciate your work, and please tell the accounting department we adore them too. It's nice to have a nice, clean report like this.
It
Not
is,
all
and-
districts get one.
Lisa Miranda's here. She's the director of accounting, and
Well,
she
stand
aged
up.
a few years this year. but-
Thank you, Lisa. Well, do I have a motion in regards? Oh, I'm sorry.
One more thing, if you don't mind.
Gag order.
You should have a book that looks like this at your place. If you could turn to page 24. Hopefully you have one. There's quite a few unnumbered pages in the beginning, so it's about 50 pages in.
Oh, just 146.
On page 24, there's two columns there. One's got a 10 at the top, and one has other glasses on, a 50. One's the general fund. What I wanted to point out is three numbers from the bottom. It shows that we put $8.4 million into fund balance. And that's actually going into fund balance, but we're going to ask you to take about 6.6 of that back out next month. This is TRE money that, you remember we had a pretty good windfall last year. Well, there's 6.5 million of last year's that hasn't been spent. So you're actually putting like 1.8 million from the general budget in there, and 6.5 million of that is some TRE money. We're going to ask you to bring that back out of there next month, and we'll put it back into the budget to use for more of the projects that have been turned in and what as we see develop during the year. So just didn't want you to think that we'd missed the budget by $8 million and put it into fund balance, but it did go in there. We'll have an agenda item next month to ask you to pull it back out. And in the second column, that's the debt service. If you notice the fund balance, the third line from the bottom is a negative $2 million. Do you remember we asked you if we could pay that much of the debt service out of fund balance since we had such a healthy fund balance there? So we kept the tax rate where it was at 35 cents and paid $2 million worth of the debt from fund balance. And we've also asked you to do that again next year. That'll be the last year that we'll feel comfortable about asking you to bring that fund balance down. But that way we get to keep all the money over in M&O that we start with and don't have to pay the INS out of that. So just wanted to bring those to your attention before you voted on it, and didn't want the world to think that we didn't do some things and then put $8 million into fund balance. You know, we always try to put some in, which 1.8 is a pretty good amount to put in. It's less than 1% of the budget, so we were pretty close on it anyway. But when I ask you for $6.5 million next month, don't say that I'm crazy. That's all I wanted to bring out. I'll certainly answer any questions and then get out of your way.
Thank you for explaining that.
Questions for Dr. Bigby? I'm just going to look at you like this from now on. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bigby. Do I have a motion in regards to the report and comprehensive annual financial report for 2018-2019?
Madam President, I move to approve the comprehensive annual financial report for 2018 and 2019 as presented by Dr. Bigby.
It's been moved by Ms. Phillips. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Vera Cruz. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We will now move into action item B, which is a resolution to cast a vote for the 5th member of the Board of Directors of the Dallas Central Appraisal District.
If you remember last month,
Dr. Bigby again.
Last month you approved a resolution that nominated Cassandra Phillips to run for that position on the board. The Central Appraisal District sent us a resolution back with the 3 names that were placed into it, and I think we probably should object because they put Ms. Phillips' name on there last. But if you don't win, we may can file a grievance. But
I think it was in alphabetical order, wasn't it?
yeah, well, it's still. We care more for us than we do for those guys. But, you have to approve the resolution with someone's name voted on. I wouldn't tell you how to vote, but I think you probably know how. But you'll have to approve it, and you'll have to make the motion to who you want to vote for in that resolution.
Okay, any more questions from Dr. Bigby? Do I have a motion in regards to the resolution to cast a vote for the 5th member of the Board of Directors of the Dallas Central Appraisal District? Someone want to move for Cassandra?
I move that okay, let me start over, I'm sorry. The board moves to vote for Ms. Cassandra Phillips by approving and completing the resolution to elect a member of the Board of Directors of the Dallas Central Appraisal District.
Is there a second?
I
Ms.
second.
Helton? Okay, thank you, Ms. Vera Cruz. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Yes.
Yeah.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can I make a campaign speech? Tell their friends to. Thank you. Okay, now we do the fuel system, is it? No, we're going to targeted improvement plans and campus improvement plans. Presenters, there'll be three: Winifred Goodman, Dr. Sam Nix, but that looks like Kathy Sewell.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to start us off this evening. Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Smith, and members of the board. This evening, we will present to you some highlights of our district improvement plan, our campus improvement plans, and targeted improvement plans. And as a reminder, we are focusing our targeted improvement plans on the Essential Schools Framework, and this is focused on 6 essential actions and 5 prioritized levers. So you can see the levers before you, and the 6 actions are, one is under each lever, except under prioritized lever 5, there are 2, which equals the 6 essential actions. And so to highlight the district improvement plan, I organized some of the actions just to highlight. There are many in the district improvement plan because it is very comprehensive. But I did want to focus on some of the action items and initiatives that we are putting in place at the district level that focus on these high prioritized levers. And as you can see, we have professional learning communities, leadership training, new teacher induction support, as well as a new teacher mentoring program this year. We are engaging in positive school culture with aggressive monitoring of instruction, as well as you all know as the board, we have had your approval for social emotional learning and some great supports for students there. We've also engaged in our curriculum management audit, which will be using that data to improve and inform our high-quality curriculum and assessment program. And then under prioritized lever 5, we have our lesson plan design, data-driven instruction, and content alignment training so that our teachers and our campus leaders are understanding the alignment of content with the TEKS and the verbs for our students to do the best and to get the most aligned instruction in our classrooms. So as part of this process, just to briefly review, the principals that were engaged in this with their chiefs of schools and who serve as their district coordinator of school improvement have engaged in collecting evidence, analyzing their current practices, focusing on areas for improvement, and also analyzing maybe what obstacles are there that they need to overcome in order to have continuous improvement and be successful. So you may ask, why do our campuses have targeted improvement plans? And so we have some categories that are federal, and we have some that are state. And these areas right here highlight the targeted and comprehensive and state accountability systems where the plans are required for a targeted improvement plan for the campuses you'll hear from this evening. And so comprehensive is a Title I federal status, and that is where schools score in the lowest 5% of all Title I federal schools. And so we had schools in that category last year, but if you'll notice the parentheses for progress, all 3 of those schools elevated and progressed out of the comprehensive status. They're now comprehensive progress, meaning they're going to exit the status if they continue on that journey and continue to excel. So we're very excited about that, but they still are required to engage in the targeted improvement plan. The second area is the federal graduation rate. The third area is targeted support. These are campuses that have had student groups that are consistently underperforming for 3 years in a row based on federal standards, which are at the federal meets standard. And then state support are for campuses that have an F or a D overall rating, or campuses that might have an F or D in a domain. If you all will recall, last year, the district had a D in a domain, and so we had to engage in that as a district plan. We do not have that this year. So before you, we have the campuses that have the targeted improvement plans for your approval this evening. And again, we've reviewed the comprehensive progress of Acton, Alexander, and Hastings. Bill Hartz has a rating of F. Hyman, Merrifield, and Hastings have a D rating. So Hastings is in two categories. They've progressed out of the comprehensive status. They've just, barely had a D, and they're progressing, and so they're in both categories. And then PACE is our graduation rate. Our other campus plans have improvements, and their campus plans are also in Plan for Learning that you were able to review. Central and Fair Meadows, of particular note, have campus plans, but they have not been listed under targeted support. They've met all federal and state requirements for accountability and student performance. And Summit is not rated in either system. So again, the improvement plan process to review, we will record our findings from the needs assessment, which you'll hear about. Annual goals have been identified, and then we're going to review those every quarter, every 90 days for progress, and to make adjustments if things are not going as planned, and to improve as a quarterly report and accountability for the campuses. And so now I'll turn it over to Ms. Winifred Goodman, who will highlight the elementary portion.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Smith. I'm here just to share with you the supports that we're providing for our elementary campuses this year. Don't have my heels on today. As the chief of schools for the elementary campuses, I also serve as their district coordinator for school improvement. So I just want to talk to you about those supports that we're providing now. We have 6 elementary campuses that are required to write a targeted improvement plan using the Effective Schools framework that Ms. Sewell just spoke about. 2 of those campuses, Hyman and Merrifield, those plans will only be maintained at the district level. They will not be monitored by the state. They are still here for your approval, and we will monitor those in district. As a district, we are specifically addressing the needs from several different angles. One of the things that we're doing is with the configuration of our chiefs of schools this year, having a chief of schools that serves just with the elementary campuses, we're able to engage around the things that are specifically needed for our elementary principals and students to be successful. We've talked to you many times about the foundational gaps that we have at our early childhood level. So we also have an early childhood department that is working in that area so that principals have someone that they can call on to help us work on those specific strategies at the early childhood level so that we don't have those instructional gaps as we get to 3rd and 4th grade with those students. The targeted support that we're offering also includes our professional learning communities. Those meetings we engage in once a month with our elementary principals, so we're able to offer targeted professional development to them. What that looks like is we visit classrooms, we also provide peer support and feedback, and they get targeted professional development that just helps to work on those foundational skills, helps to work on those things that we really need to target at those particular grade levels. Acton, Alexander, Bill Hartz, and Hastings will also receive, they've also started to receive some additional coaching support, and those campus principals have also engaged in the curriculum management audit training so that they get a better understanding of the instructional needs at their campus and are better. You'll hear all of them talk about the alignment process, so they're really able to engage in that work because they've had that specific training just for them. Our 3 campuses that were IR last year, as Ms. Sewell spoke of, they also are still engaged in this work. Although they all made double-digit gains, they each had to write a targeted improvement plan and are still being monitored with those plans.
they also will receive some additional funding through our school improvement grant. At this time, each principal will come forward and talk to you just about the campus strengths and opportunities and those key areas for improvement that they will work on this year with their teams. Are there any questions at this time?
Any questions? Thank you.
First, we will have Kyla Bowens, the principal at Acton, and then they will flow up after that. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. My name is Kyla Bowens, principal at Acton Elementary School, and this is my 5th year at Acton. I stand before you this evening very proud of the work that we've had at Acton as we have met standard for the 2019 school year. We met the standard with 3 distinctions, a distinction in math, closing gaps, and school progress. So I'm happy to share that story, our success story, with you this evening. Our campus goal this year is to, of course, sustain our work from last year with the standard of excellence with our staff that consists of over 50 individuals and 500 students. So our strengths from our 2019 star rating, we did have double-digit gains. 3rd grade math, 4th grade reading, writing, and math increased 20% or more on our star last year. And our English language learners also increased their performance in all subject areas, as well as having a strong Acton Guiding Coalition, which consists of our teachers at each grade level having input and being part of our professional learning community processes and framework with our grade level work and curriculum alignment as we have those discussions and PLCs. As administrators, we also, with Fidelity, implemented and conducted a 3-part coaching cycle with our teachers where we coached our teachers and coached them up to be able to support our students with the curriculum and the standards and being successful with the learning standards. We conducted walkthroughs. We also conducted face-to-face debriefs with each teacher every walkthrough. And from those debriefs, we also followed up with those teachers on their implementation of the reflection that they had during that coaching debrief. So that was one way that we monitored and also ensured that refinement was taking place with the instruction in the classroom. As we look at our opportunities, 100% of the time we do want to take care of our core instructional practices in reading and math and other content areas, ensuring that alignment is there for our students, as well as building the capacity in our teachers. We also look to increase our scholar and staff attendance rate. Our goal is 98%. We do recognize and provide incentives, which I will speak to here shortly, in regards to our student attendance and our staff attendance. We know that we need our staff there present every day to educate our students. And then also increasing our student achievement for all of our student populations. So definitely wanting to address all of our populations within our campus. So some actions that have contributed to our success that we have implemented consist of our Learning by Doing PLC framework. And within this framework is the work of our Acton Guiding Coalition, which I spoke to, that our teachers are part of, but also reaching out to our curriculum and instruction department because they were very supportive with training our leadership team with alignment and how to ensure alignment in our classrooms as we visit classrooms and with our lesson frames. And so our teachers have dug deep into that work in the PLC process with unpacking the standards and then also developing those aligned lesson frames for their students. During our PLCs, our teachers are modeling lessons and receiving live feedback from administrators and our full-time teacher specialists to ensure that activities are aligned to the standard. And we also have embedded professional development that's targeted for our teachers specific to the content area. We have revised our master schedule to include an intervention time because we also know that that's important to make sure that we are addressing the gaps that our students may have, but also extending learning for our students, for our higher achieving students. And then our parent liaison is also a key piece because that's the parent connection piece. We want to connect with our parents. We share with our students, we share with our staff, and our families that Acton is a place for teaching and learning. And so we want to provide educational opportunities for our parents to be involved. And most recently, we held a parent reading workshop with reading tips for them to support their students at home. Not only on the academic side are we addressing our students' needs, but also on the social emotional side. And so connecting and building relationships with our students during the morning huddles so that our teachers can, of course, build our students up, give them the confidence that they need, have conversations and connect with them on the academic side as well as the character side. And then, as I spoke to earlier, campus attendance initiative, because we do want to celebrate our attendance for our staff and our students and recognize and provide incentives such as staff drawings and then, of course, student recognitions for perfect attendance. So I stand before you very proud of the work that our teachers have done this year for our students and student achievement, most importantly. And so I thank you for your time.
Any questions for Ms. Bowens?
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I recently visited your campus, and I
Yes,
love
ma'am.
the feel of how I walked on the campus, and it felt very home, very safe. And I read at one of your teachers'
To our
classrooms
fourth grade
myself.
class.
Yeah,
Yes,
that was a lot
thank
of
you.
fun. I have a question. Can you speak a little bit about the collaboration piece with regard to with the parents? How is that going? Because that's huge.
It is huge. And so it's going very well. As I spoke to our parent liaison, Ms. Serrano supports us with seeking volunteers. Actually, this Friday, we are having a donuts in the morning with our families, Donuts for Champions. And then we also have our All-Pro Dads. We had that kickoff. And so we do have great parent participation for those activities. And we seek out volunteers for our parents to support our teachers and our students at Acton.
That's great. Another question that I have is, the intervention piece, is that for the student?
For students, yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes, that's built into our master schedule during the day
Okay.
to support our students in content area, and as I spoke to in regards to closing any gaps that they may have, but also extending our higher learners, GATE students, and so forth.
Okay,
So those students that are performing at the meets and
Yeah,
masters
that's important
level.
to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is your parent liaison a volunteer, or is that a paid position?
So our parent liaison is part of our family engagement department here in Duncanville.
Okay. Do moms come to your All-Pro Dads activities, or is it just for dads?
So it is for all parents, you know, an uncle, a cousin, it can be a mom. And so, you know, we don't just limit it to a male or female figure if it's muffins for mom or donuts for dads. We encourage
you-
all of our families.
Do you have a PTA or a PTO or?
Yes, we do have a PTA.
Okay.
Yes,
thank you.
ma'am. It's very active. We just had our fall carnival.
It usually has been in the past. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Ms. Colton?
Mrs. Bowens, I just have to commend you and your staff, for the work that you all have done for the double-digit increases in, test scores. Y'all are doing a tremendous job, and we, the board, really appreciate the work that you all are doing. And
Thank you, and we
and I-
appreciate your support.
Yes. And then also the fact that you all are interweaving character.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's just wonderful.
Thank you.
So, yeah, thank
We
you
will
very
continue
much.
the work.
We appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Any more questions or comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm next. Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. I'm Erin Fry, the proud principal of Alexander Elementary. This is my second year at that campus. I, too, am really excited to share with you about the campus's growth and our next steps to continue our success. As you know, we moved from an improvement required F campus to a Met Standard C campus in 1 year with double-digit growth and accountability rating scores. Some specific data highlights that I have up here for you. We experienced significant growth at our third grade, both reading and math, and also our fourth grade math scores. We had some very specific instructional focus points that we're going to continue to capitalize on that growth this year. We do still have some opportunities with our fourth grade reading and writing as well. So the work is certainly going to continue. And how we're going to continue our campus growth, really we're going to maintain and refine processes that we began last year because these things have been working. So it's a process of getting better, getting more efficient, and building capacity at the campus level. And so our three-pronged focus, one of the things that I came to you and talked to you about a year ago was that I believe it's really important that we focus on the culture, on the academics, and then on the operational pieces. So everything that we do is going to fall into one of those categories, and they are interdependent on one another, so changes in one do impact the other. So our key improvement actions, we've really taken a look at some staffing changes so that we can put people's strengths at the forefront and really play to people's strengths, whether it's the grade level they teach or the need on that content team or that grade level team. So we have moved some people around to different seats on the bus, if you will, and we've brought in, quite frankly, a lot of talent this year, so that has helped. We also have our continued instructional focus elements, our big rocks, if you will, our instructional alignment and learning environment. And you can see that those connect pretty clearly to the culture and the academic pieces. The operational pieces are the ways that we can make those things happen. And so alignment to standards, making sure that teachers are understanding the standards, which are sometimes kind of complex, helping them to translate that standard into what does that look like in a classroom? What do students need to do? And then how do we need to monitor that they are able to do those things? So that's the alignment piece, kind of in a nutshell. The learning environment piece has everything to do with both the culture in the room, the culture in the building, the relationships that we're building with students, and also setting up processes, structures, and procedures to maximize efficiency and focus and time on task. So the learning environment is going to be the vehicle to make sure that our instruction is where it needs to be. So those are things that we started last year. They're continuations this year. Again, the name of the game is to get better and stronger. A couple of things that we've done also, we have also changed our master schedule. We've incorporated a 45-minute block of the day called Power Hour, and that is our intervention and enrichment time frame. So it's a more dedicated space than what we had in place before. And we have seen improvements just from last year to this year with the number of our students who are at the highest level of needs in those intervention tiers. They have gained some ground. And so with this being in place at literally every single grade level, there's that dedicated time and space beyond just the reading block, the math block, the science block, et cetera, to really address what students' needs are and try to fill those gaps so that we can catch them up or move them forward. We also have continued our Eagle Time. That's our construct. It starts our day. It's the first 15 minutes of the day, and it's kind of like a morning meeting. The expectation is that we don't know how students are coming to us, but once we have them, we know that we can start shaping that. And so our Eagle Time is our social emotional piece. And so that's been in place for the last 2 years. And so every morning, teachers greet our students, and then with the addition of our Sanford Harmony social emotional curriculum that the district brought in this year, we've been able to have a mechanism to help give almost a lesson plan for teachers, to help them make connections with students, to help teach some coping skills, to just address the human need in the room before we get to the academic pieces. So our Eagle Time is how we start our day. That's a continuation. Also, teacher collaboration. You've heard people mention professional learning communities, and that is the way we operate with our professional work sphere. It's all about building collaborative cultures so that we are relying on teams. We are building equity across teams so that it doesn't matter who you have as a teacher, you're getting the same quality, and there is alignment in what we're delivering to our students in the classrooms. So we have really been building on that through our daily PLCs and also our after-school PLCs with some extended time and focus there. And then data analysis and student focus. One of the things that, to kind of put it in layman's terms, we've really tried to make sure that we're paying attention to what kids need, whether that's socially, whether that's academically. And so looking at our data and really letting it tell us what our kids need and where we need to go next, that's been pretty crucial, and that's, again, a process we're going to continue. So we've set both an achievement goal and a growth goal this year because the two go hand in hand. We do have some specific markers that we want to get to with our achievement, but it's really important and a non-negotiable this year that we're growing at least every student by 1 or more grade levels every year. That's just a commitment that we want to make now and forevermore, probably. So I don't see that goal going anywhere or changing. So it should come as no surprise that our theme this year is growth happens here, because it has, and it will continue that way. So we are committed to the process, and if you have questions for me, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you, Mrs. Fry. Any questions or comments for Mrs. Fry? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Get this right sooner or later. Good evening again. I am here to present on behalf of Hastings Elementary. Our principal is not here this evening, Wendy Tate, and she is in her first year as principal at Hastings. And so I just want to highlight a couple of the things that they are doing this year and the key improvement actions. As you know, and we've spoke about a little bit, Hastings is in a unique situation in that they did make double-digit gains. However, they are in the comprehensive progress. However, they are still a D-rated campus. They were 1 point away from that C rating and worked very hard last year and got those double-digit gains. This year, the focus is on continuing that growth, and the way that they're doing that is continuing to build teacher capacity, making sure that the teachers understand the data analysis process and also have the tools that they need and are equipped for instruction. One of the ways they're doing that is through the professional learning communities that you've heard several people speak of. We're really focusing on that as a district this year, really giving that a lot more focus. Double-digit gains in the areas of approaches in 3rd grade reading. Again, there was also an increase in all performance levels in 3rd grade math as well last year. Double-digit gains in 4th grade reading, and one of the things that the campus wanted to highlight is that their SPED student population in 4th grade math also saw double-digit gains. The opportunities that we're facing this year is, again, continuing to grow our students at the master's level. We lost about 3 percentage points last year, and so we want to continue to do that in 4th grade reading. Again, our target and our focus is on their Tier 1 instruction, being sure that the teachers have what they need as it relates to understanding the content that they're teaching and also knowing how to deliver that content. So really focusing on that to decrease the achievement gap. If you notice, she spoke about a disparity between the African American and Hispanic subpopulation. So one way, again, of doing that is continuing to ensure that our teachers have the professional development that they need. And I know at Hastings, they're doing that on a weekly basis through those professional learning communities and also through their planning meetings as they model lessons for one another. Another focus is the Texas English Language Proficiency Assessment. And so that is for our English language learners. And one of the things that they're doing at Hastings is continuing to pay attention to those students that were not successful last year in 3rd grade and monitoring those students so that we can ensure their success this year as they are now 4th graders. The key actions for improvement, those little things that we know are going to make a huge difference, is they've also included some intervention time in their schedule, able to provide more professional development opportunities, focusing on those best practices and emphasis on data-driven instruction. The teachers there have already presented their first 9 weeks data and actually are digging more into that data to see how we can meet our students where they are. And the focus on instruction and curriculum alignment. As I spoke about, she was also one of the principals that was able to attend the training to really dig deep into that curriculum alignment. And the curriculum team has been out to walk the campuses and walk the campus with the principal so that they are sure that everybody is saying the same thing, using the same language. And I will entertain any questions that you have at this time.
Any questions for Ms. Goodman regarding Hastings?
I have a question. You spoke a little bit about the disparity between African American and Hispanic subpopulations. I didn't hear anything about parent involvement. Is there a pull from the parents or classes being offered to the parents to be involved?
One of the things at Hastings is Hastings continues to have very positive results with their parent relations and having parents on campus. We're all focusing on making those interactions a lot more centered around instruction and how we can help parents to be able to help their students.
Yeah.
So that's a push at all of our elementary campuses, as opposed to it's not enough just to have parents to come up for donuts. That's good. We want them there, but while we have them there,
Yes.
what are we doing with that time? Our family and community engagement department is also helping us to work on that.
Thank you.
So is there a parent group, the All-Pro Dads or
The-
PTA, PTO, any mom-pop group?
Yes, there is. And they're continuing to rebuild their PTA at Hastings because at this time, I don't think they're as active. But they're continuing to work on that, and having those family liaisons to actually work on the campuses also helps with that.
Thank
And
you.
those are employees of the district.
Any more questions or comments? Oh, we have one. Ms. Kelton?
Thank you. I was wondering if any family reading initiatives have been launched, to kind of help the kids increase in their reading ability. Do we have any programs like that?
So at this time, each campus has something different. One of the things that all of the campuses are doing is working on a literacy night, so they all have scheduled literacy nights. Hastings has not had one just yet, but they will have one as well.
Thank you, Ms. Goodman.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. I'm Valerie Harris, the proud principal of Bill Hartz Elementary School. This is my 3rd year serving as the leader of Bill Hartz Elementary. In my first year, we received a Met standard rating. And in my 2nd year, which was last year, we received an F letter grade rating. As the campus leader, I have reflected on how we landed there, and I have created an action plan to get us out and make us receive a different letter grade this school year. As part of the action plan, I'm implementing the Effective Schools Framework and focusing on increasing instructional leadership and data-driven instruction. Some of our instructional strengths include our third graders maintaining their overall performance ratings and increasing at the meets and masters levels when compared to the previous year's data. We are targeting some areas of opportunity as identified by our needs assessment. There was a significant decline in fourth grade math scores on STAR when compared to the data from the previous year. To ensure a change in results, I have made some personnel adjustments to the grade level teams and transitioned to a self-contained model of instruction. This will allow us to focus on improving Tier 1 instruction in the classroom and empower our teachers to know their students and be able to act on their needs. We have also eliminated some key distractors that impacted the fourth grade scores and the entire building related to campus discipline. By implementing the district's new social emotional learning framework this year, we have embraced a new approach to supporting our students. Our first 9-week discipline report indicated a significant decrease in referrals when compared to last year's data. This time last year, we had 48 referrals at the end of the first 9 weeks. And I'm happy to say that this year, at the first 9 weeks, we've had 2 referrals by changing our approach. This year, our campus also has a part-time culture coach to help us. We thank the Student Services Department for leading that charge for us and providing us some help with those difficult students. My assistant principal and team have been very intentional with eliminating factors that have had the potential to distract our focus from instruction. Our second area of opportunity focuses on improving literacy. Our third and fourth grade scores are being affected due to the large number of students that are not reading on grade level in our lower grades. We must close these instructional gaps, and how will we do that? We will use our iStation programs to help us close these gaps, along with small guided group instruction by our teachers and interventionists on campus. Last year, we did use iStation, but we didn't implement it as a true tool for intervention. We used it more of a support system. This year, we are using it as a progress monitoring tool that we will monitor monthly to close those gaps. Our third area of opportunity focuses on improving Tier 1 instruction delivery. Last year, we did not have a full-time teacher specialist on our campus, and this year we do. And we see that we're already making some tremendous gains with that level of support. With the teacher specialist on campus daily, our teachers have an instructional coach that can provide feedback, modeling, and follow-up in a timely, consistent manner. This allows us to help support as an instructional leadership team and also provide consistent support and feedback. This time last year, I had so many walkthroughs, but they were drive-by. But now we've changed our approach on that as well, and we're being intentional with our scheduling of our walkthroughs and providing meaningful face-to-face conversations with our teachers. We've already noticed that on our walkthroughs and observations, we're seeing change at a lot faster rate on instructional delivery. We are being intentional with our key actions for improvement. Our focus this year is on instructional alignment, and yes, we were focusing on instructional alignment last year, but we've been more specific this year. I want to thank Dr. Smith for allowing me to attend the Level 1 curriculum audit training this fall. I learned so much. I now have a better understanding of the alignment of the written, taught, and tested curriculum, and I can come back to my campus and apply my knowledge to what we need. The district C&I team has also been a huge support this year with providing professional development on the 3 C's of instructional alignment. This has allowed me and my team to train my staff, and we will continue training them on the importance of the curriculum alignment when referring to the content, context, and cognitive levels of alignment. That takes us right into the classroom to those daily objectives that we see on the boards and the activities that their students are doing daily. Our intense focus on instructional alignment and data-driven instruction will be the keys to our success. I have implemented some new systems for data review this year, allowing me and my leadership team to progress monitor in a different way, mainly speaking on the formative assessment reviews. We've added another step to go over that data with teachers and make sure that we set a date for reteach, and so that we know that it's happening in the classroom and we can see those results. I'm happy to say that the first 9-week district exam results are evidence that our leadership team, teachers, and staff are committed to improving. On the first 9-week exam, third grade reading was in line with the district average. third grade math was slightly above the district average on the first 9 weeks exam. On the first 9 weeks exam, fourth grade math and writing were above the district average. And although fourth grade reading was just slightly below the district average, overall, Bill Hart's assessment results increased on the first 9 weeks exam when compared to the previous year's data. We have just received our new parent liaison on campus. Ms. Sylvia Martinez has been with us for about 2.5 weeks. We did have one to start the year, but she resigned after about the second week. She was with us last year and she was great. We're really going to miss her. But we're happy to have some new help to come along and bring those parents in to help us throughout our building as well. We do have an active PTA that volunteers and does any and everything that we can ask of them. We also reach out to our parents in a coalition and we have them trained in guided reading so that they can come in and help us pull groups. We have a lot of success with that in our lower grade classrooms, especially in the bilingual classrooms. We are getting ready to train our next cohort of parents in guided reading as well. At this time, I will take any additional questions that you have for me related to Bill Hart's Elementary School. I just want to let you know that we know that this work is hard and we are up for the challenge. And the evidence that we see so far has just been nothing but a key in our back for us to move forward with our progress to get the job done for our students and families.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Any questions or comments?
I have a comment. Ms. Harris, I just want to say thank you for all that you're doing and let you know that you have the best staff and administrators and teams supporting you, and we're rooting for you.
Thank you so
We
much.
do not want to see you in this position going forward, so
Yes, ma'am.
we are cheering you on.
Thank you.
And we know it's gonna get better.
All right, thank you so much.
Any comments, questions? Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Board President, Dr. Smith, and Board of Trustees. I am Tangi Towles, the proud principal of Maryfield Elementary School. I have served as principal for 3 years. It is an honor and a blessing. So today, before I share with you our strengths, our opportunities, and our key actions of improvement, I want to talk to you a little bit about our profile at Maryfield Elementary School. We're a very unique campus. And so I wanted to share with you that at Maryfield, we have the wonderful opportunity to educate students from 4 surrounding cities. We're the only campus, elementary schools here in Duncanville that educate students, of course, from Duncanville. We also receive students from Cedar Hill, from DeSoto, and also from Dallas. That makes us very unique. Also at Maryfield, we have an economically disadvantaged population of 88%. That's the second highest in the district amongst the elementary schools. So in addition to educating students from 4 surrounding cities, we have a very high economically disadvantaged population. In addition to that, we have a mobility rate of 29%. That's almost unheard of at an elementary school. And so with the mobility rate of almost 30%, Maryfield Elementary School, we educate students, and with that mobility rate, it's the highest mobility rate here in the district. It's even higher than Duncanville High School. So I share with you that profile so that you have a clear understanding that with these nuggets with these nuggets that we're faced with as a campus, it contributes to our strengths as a campus. It also contributes to our opportunities, but it also contributes to our key actions. So our strengths. At Maryfield, we have a very strong culture and climate and team spirit. We are one campus. And today, I have some members of my leadership team here with me. Could you please stand? I have my teacher specialist. I have my math center teacher, my librarian, my reading center teacher, and my counselor. And all of these ladies are strong instructional leaders, and so they help as we target our key action areas for growth. Also, in addition to having a strong culture and climate, we are one solidified group. When our students come to our campus, we have one group of students in August because of our transit student population. Our teachers' classrooms change by December. Half of those kids are gone. And then by April, they have another changing classroom because our students' mobility rate is very high. And so with that, it's so important for us as a campus to ensure that we are one solidified group of teachers and staff here to move students and to help teachers grow. Our strengths, based upon our STAR performance last year, we were very strong in third grade reading. We had a growth of 30% meets and 13% masters. Also, our third grade math, we had growth at 22% meets and 7% masters. Opportunities, last year on our STAR test, our fourth grade reading students had some decline, and so that's our opportunities for growth for this school year. They had a decline of 11%. So at Merrifield, we are focusing on 3 key instructional areas: instructional design, instructional delivery, and then also our professional learning communities and our social emotional learning. And so first area of focus, our instructional design. This is huge for us at Merrifield. If we are focusing on our tier 1 instruction. And so with that, the administrators, the teacher specialists, and our center teachers, we are working very closely with our classroom teachers to ensure that our lessons are aligned to the state standards, the instructional activities are aligned, and then the assessments are aligned. If those things are not aligned, you end up doing a lot of tutoring and a lot of intervention. And we want to prevent that by getting it right the first time with that tier 1 instruction. And so this year, the district has purchased the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt curriculum for reading and writing. We did not have this curriculum last year. With this viable curriculum, we are able to sit down with our teachers. They have a curriculum, and so we're able to create lessons, activities, and common assessments. Last year, we just had a framework, what we called the Balanced Literacy Framework. And teachers were taught how to teach guided reading, how to teach guided math, how to create your assessments, but we didn't have the curriculum to tie in with the framework. So teachers across the district were using all different kind of resources. This year, we are one as a district. So we have our Houghton Mifflin Harcourt curriculum that we're using, and we still have our Balanced Literacy Framework, and that will help us to ensure that our teachers are getting the instruction right the first time. And so with that, that's our number 1 focus, is the instructional design. So we want to ensure that our teachers are designing lessons that are meeting state standards and at the level and rigor as expected. So in the lessons, if it says to differentiate, myself and those ladies back there, the leadership team, we are ensuring that teachers are planning lessons that say differentiate. If it says examine, we want to make sure we are planning lessons to examine. If it says debate, if it says distinguish, we want to make sure those teachers are using those verbs and planning lessons according to the state standard. And so now we have the curriculum, and then we also have the framework. Next is our instructional delivery. That's the second area of focus for Merrifield Elementary School. So we are very active in our professional learning communities, but one big initiative, and you've heard this over and over tonight, that we are focusing on is aggressive monitoring. And so with the aggressive monitoring, this is a piece that came to us through Region 10, and it was brought to us, to the teachers, through our curriculum and instruction department. And so with the aggressive monitoring, we are working with our teachers, helping them understand after you teach a lesson, how to check for student understanding with fidelity. You don't want to continue teaching a lesson if a student doesn't get it. And so with the aggressive monitoring, it shows teachers how to teach the lesson, how to collect data, how to identify students that understand the skill, and how to identify students who don't understand the skill, and then how to bring those students in a small group. And so with that, you're providing immediate feedback to the student. You're not waiting a week, you're not waiting next week, you're not waiting a month, you're giving those students immediate feedback. And so with the aggressive monitoring, our teachers have embraced it. We have embraced it as a leadership team. And so we are able to provide students with instruction. We are able to monitor their understanding, and then we're able to collect data as a staff as far as our student strengths. Our third area that we're focusing on is our social emotional learning. So with our very transient student population, our students have a lot of social emotional needs. And so at Merrifield, before we can do the teaching, we got to make sure that they have a stable foundation as far as their social emotional. So what do? We celebrate, we recognize, we bring that positive climate, and then we start every morning with our daily community circles. And so what that is, that's time where teachers are able to build relationships with students. Teachers are sitting down with students, ensuring that they are ready for learning. And then it brings a family culture and climate within that classroom, which trickles out into our campus. And so we're doing those social emotional lessons through Sanford Harmony. And the Sanford Harmony kits were purchased from our counseling department. And so every campus has those lessons this year. We didn't have that last year. And so it's been a really beneficial for our students. Also, another beneficial thing is we have a social emotional counselor. And so we did not have that in the past as well. And so with that social emotional counselor and the SEL lessons, the social emotional lessons, we are able to ensure that our students are ready for learning socially, emotionally, and academically. And so those are the three areas, excuse me, for Merrifield that we're really focusing on this year: the lesson design, the lesson delivery, and the social emotional learning. With that, we are confident, myself and my instructional leadership team, we are confident that we are able to continue to move Merrifield upward. And then you ask, how do you know, Ms. Towles? How do you know these things are going to work? And so we have been, again, monitoring individual student performance data, classroom data, and teacher data. And so far, for the first 9 weeks, we completed our district assessments. And out of all 9 elementary schools, Merrifield, we had the highest progress growth for reading and math based upon DA1. And so if we continue to use the Houghton Mifflin curriculum, if we continue to watch the instructional design and delivery, if we continue to take care of our students' social emotional needs, we are confident that we will continue to see the growth that we need every 9 weeks. That's it. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Towles? Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
And your staff. That's really neat. Y'all showed up for your principal.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Smith, and members of our distinguished board. My name is Derek Ross, and I'm the proud principal of C.J. and Ann Hyman Elementary, serving in the first-year capacity. New to the school, but definitely not new to the principalship. For the 2019-2020 school year, Hyman Elementary is a state-supported Med Standard campus, and I would like to take a moment to share with you a few of our strengths and opportunities we have identified in order to right the ship for the 2019-2020 school year. For the 2018-19 school year, Hyman experienced increases in the percentage of students at master's level for math for 3rd and 4th grade. We are also encouraged by the configuration of our newly formed instructional team, which includes myself, Mr. Ross as the principal, Ms. Elizabeth Hunter as the assistant principal, Ms. Victoria Graham, principal fellow, and Ms. Lakeisha King, who is our full-time teacher specialist. It is my belief that each member of this instructional leadership team exhibits a particular skill set that when we join collaboratively will prove to be most beneficial for our students and stakeholders at Hyman Elementary. When determining the next steps, we had to identify the opportunities based on our data. Hyman experienced deficits on STAR across multiple achievement levels in all content areas: reading, mathematics, and writing. It was determined through a root cause analysis that our campus has exhibited some concerns in the developmental of foundational and procedural skills, which are necessary to promote higher order thinking skills. In efforts to fuel our success, our unwavering emphasis this year will continue to be on student achievement, more specifically, Domain 2A, which is student growth. We are confident that we are able to achieve our goal by targeting the following areas: instructional alignment, job-embedded professional learning communities, and a data-driven culture. By aligning the written, taught, and assessed curriculum, we are committed to ensuring that our students receive an integrated, coherent learning experience that will ultimately contribute to their overall success. Our job-embedded professional learning communities will allow us to focus on day-to-day practices in a manner that builds the capacity of our instructional team in order to plan and deliver based on the essential elements of effective instruction. Also, by fostering a data-driven culture, we permit us to identify gaps in instructions based on students' misconceptions and allow us to plan, if necessary, more prescriptive interventions. CJ and Ann Hyman Elementary, as part of the Duncanville Independent School District, is dedicated to providing a challenging academic environment designed to nurture all students. We believe that through increased levels of collaboration, a focus on student achievement, and a school culture that fosters curiosity, we will be instrumental in setting the foundational aspects of our students to prepare them for the 21st century and beyond. I'm ready to entertain any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Ross? Ms.
Yes, ma'am.
McNeely?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is the first one I've seen, the Jeff Anderson's pattern of power writing. Talk to me a little bit about that. 'Cause
So
we
Jeff-
haven't talked about that.
Yes, ma'am. So Jeff Anderson's pattern of power for writing is something that we're doing across all the elementaries. It's part of our curriculum instruction focus, but what we're doing is we're looking at our writing, being more specific and understanding and separate craft writing and revisioning editing. And so what we're doing is actually outlining lessons to prepare our students not only to be ultimately successful on the composition, but also focusing on the revisioning editing aspect. So it's a set of skills that are best practices that are proven, techniques that if we implement, that we should definitely see increases in our scores across fourth grade writing.
And all of elementary.
Yes, all elementaries are utilizing that as well.
Any more questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Thank you.
Hello,
Well, good evening,
Dr.
Madam
Wicks.
President, members of the board, Dr. Smith. I serve as the TEA Designated District Coordinator for School Improvement for Pace High School. Pace has been identified as a campus in need of comprehensive support due to the campus not attaining a 67% four-year graduation rate. Although the work of Ms. Hudson and her team at Pace has resulted in a 28% increase in the graduation rate from 36% to 64% in 1 year, along with double-digit instructional gains. I just want to pause here because we hear a lot of these campuses talk about double-digit gains in a year, and sometimes that can be seen as just something that is easily done, and it is not. And that is something that many of these principals and their staff and Ms. Hudson at Pace had double-digit instructional gains in most of her areas in 1 year, and that's phenomenal. The requirement still was not met for Pace. There are significant challenges that the current federal accountability system possesses or poses to alternative schools specifically. The nature of the system keeps them incomprehensive due to their mobility rate, due to the graduation requirements, and due to the way that they calculate CCMR for those alternative campuses. Some of our neighboring districts have responded to this with their alternative campuses by either closing some of their alternative campuses or by repurposing some of their campuses. But as Duncanville, we as a district, we are committed to meeting the needs of all of our students. And so district support is being provided in a specific and targeted manner to improve instruction, increase the quality of the professional development that's being offered to the campus. As a district, we've committed to adding an assistant principal to the campus to ensure a broader scope and a proactive support for all of those students and those teachers and those parents. At this time, Ms. Hudson will come before you to share the campus strengths, opportunities, and key improvement actions that she and her team have designed to specifically meet the needs of the campus.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Smith. First off, I want to apologize for my voice. I'm a little bit under the weather. My name is Tawana Hudson, and this is my second school year as the proud principal of Pace High School. I'm very pleased to stand before you this evening and share with you where we are as a campus on our journey towards continuous improvement. PACE is designed to provide a flexible online learning environment for students who are at risk of not graduating high school. Our primary goal is to aid those students in reaching graduation status and being productive citizens, but secondarily, when they graduate, we want them to leave us better people, socially and emotionally. During my first year as principal, we went from a Domain 1 student achievement score of 68 to a score of 81, and our graduation rate nearly doubled in that time. These are successes that I'm very proud of. However, through the school improvement process, we have identified some opportunities for further improvement. Although our graduation rate did increase, we still did not meet the state target. Our attendance averages last year still averaged around 77%, and we've also identified a need for an increased focus on improving EOC preparation instruction. We are taking actions to address these areas. Although we are an online campus, all PACE retesters are now receiving 60 minutes of direct teach instruction in preparation for the EOC STAR test. This is for any subject that they need to retest in. There's also a targeted focus on building teacher capacity to plan lessons, deliver sound instruction, as well as focus on the student data that drives that instruction. As Dr. Nick stated, we do have an AP on our campus this year, and I've partnered with her to address the improvement of our attendance. We are still tracking attendance daily, weekly, and monthly on our campus, but we now meet bi-weekly to monitor that attendance, look at trends, measure the impact of the strategies that we currently have in place, and then make revisions to any strategies that are not working so that we can continue to work on improving our attendance issues. I'm confident that with these actions that we have in place, we are going to continue to write success stories, one PACE student at a time. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have for me.
Questions, comments for Ms. Hudson? Ms. McNeely?
I just want to say that I know for a fact that that the whole culture of your school has had to change in the last 2 years, and that maybe EOCs and the focus has not been on EOCs and the teachers were able to kind of do, the whole focus is, and I commend you for that.
Thank you.
The gains that you've made and the leadership that you, because I just from what I have observed, I think your teachers have bought into it, and I think the sky's the limit for y'all, and I think you're going to be one of those alternative schools that are going to meet those standards.
Absolutely.
Any more comments or questions? Thank you, Ms. Hudson.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for your attention. I'm going to close out with just a couple of slides. The first one is a reminder of our school improvement pathway. So as you reflect and you've heard our presentations this evening, this is a reminder of our stair-stepped journey and the timeframes that are associated with those. And to remind us all of the purpose of the Effective Schools Framework, the state has designed this so we all have a common language around best practices and that we engage in those, and we have supportive and effective schools in all the districts of the state, that we engage in continuous improvement, and that we have alignment not only in our curriculum and with our teachers and students, but that the state and the regional service centers are aligning with us to help support us and keep us successful. And lastly, our plans are here for strong school and strong student outcomes. So thank you all for your attention this evening. We obviously are here for students, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions for Mrs. Sewell before we vote?
I'm just very impressed with all that you all are doing, and I know that it trickles down from us, it goes to Dr. Smith, which goes to y'all, and it's an exciting time to be a part of Duncanville, I think. I know it's hard work, but our kids are the benefactors.
Well put, Ms. McNeely. Do I have a motion in regards to the targeted improvement plans and campus improvement plans?
Madam President, I move to approve the targeted improvement plans for submission, the TEA, and a motion to approve the campus plan and the district plan.
Mrs. Phillips has moved. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Vera Cruz. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and all of you. And may I say, I'm just so thankful for you. At this season of Thanksgiving, I can't imagine the work you do. I just can't. All these CRPs and TRTs and SRSs, and I don't know how y'all keep up with those. But anyway, thank you. And now we come to our information discussion agenda items with Ms. Kathleen Brown with strategic goal number 4 update, focus on employees and organizational improvement.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith. It is my pleasure to bring you our first update for this year on our strategic plan, and it will be goal number 4, a focus on employees and organizational excellence. All of the information that you've heard tonight from our principals all focus on helping to build capacity in our employees, and so I want to share some highlights with you of things that have occurred over this last year. So first, our 2019 recruitment efforts is what I'd like to highlight first. On last year, we had our annual job fair, and we saw an increase. We had 875 applicants who registered, which was an increase from the previous year. And so we've set a goal of 1,000 this year, and we're hoping to meet or exceed that goal. So we as a district, as well as the state, have seen an increase in need in specific areas. In our district, bilingual, which we talk about annually, is a huge need for us, as well as at the secondary level, math, science, foreign languages, and currently we see some openings in CTE even. One of the benefits for our district is that we are a district of innovation, and so we've been able to hire 9 employees through the District of Innovation, which has been a benefit for us. One of the other recruitment efforts that we've had an opportunity to participate in is for the last 5 years. You'll see the orange emblem up there for BESO, which is the Bilingual Education Student Organization. Annually, BESO chooses 4 districts to participate in their recruitment effort, and we are in our 5th year with BESO, and so we plan to do that again this year. Typically, at the start of the school year, we have openings in our bilingual classrooms, upwards of 8 to 10 openings. I'm proud to present that on this year, we only had 4 bilingual openings, which were all filled prior to the start of school through TEA waivers with ESL certified teachers. Before I go on to the next slide, I also want to highlight Duncanville High School. We talk about Duncanville High School a lot. There are lots of great things that go on at our high school, and it takes a lot of people for all of that great work to happen. We typically see about 20 openings at the start of school. At a high school that size, you would think that's not a lot, but for us it is. We want a qualified teacher in every classroom at the start of school. Mr. McDonald and his team did an exceptional job this year. At the start of school, there were only 13 openings, 10 of which were already filled through proximity learning. And so on the first day of school, the high school started, I don't know if this has happened before, with only 3 vacancies if you take out proximity learning. And that goes to the leadership at the campus and their diligence to making sure positions were filled.
Next is our new employee and substitute and new teacher induction. Annually, we have our new teacher breakfast, which all of you have an opportunity to participate in. But every week and every month here in the district, we are constantly bringing on new staff members to the organization. Our new employee orientation happens weekly. And over this last year, Duncanville brought on 440 or over 440 new hires excuse me, who were processed and attended orientation. That is a lot of individuals. And so that goes to everybody in the district plays a part in getting those individuals here. HR, we have the opportunity to process them, to welcome them, but the hard work is happening in our campuses and departments to make sure that that happens. Also, monthly, we host our substitute orientation. And last year, we had 352 active substitutes, 27 of which were hired into full-time positions this school year. And so that's one of the reasons we have our monthly orientations, is because our substitutes are picked up, and we want that to happen for them to become a part of the Duncanville ISD family in a full-time position. Next, recognition is key. Last year, we had our employee appreciation event entitled Mahalo, which means thank you. And so at that event annually, we recognize our district teachers of the year, our Spirit of the Champion recipients. We had a really, really great theme in collaboration with our communications department, where these individuals were recognized with a Hawaiian theme. We even had some hula dancers. I see you up there, Miss Sahi, getting your groove on. And so our staff really enjoyed this event. It's just a way to highlight the awesome things that are going on with our staff here in the district, and we're adding some ways to recognize staff this year. Okay, so employee growth opportunities. Through our district surveys, we survey people, our staff members, our families, and it's important that when you survey individuals that you are really taking that feedback and doing something with it. So one of the things that we have found through our employee survey and our exit survey data, one of the areas of focus was that we consistently see listed there opportunities to grow in the district, that as an area of concern for individuals. And so we've looked at that very closely over the last few years, and just last year, 54 Duncanville ISD employees were promoted during the 18-19 school year. And that includes across the board, someone in transportation being promoted to a different position, custodians becoming lead custodians. And so we're constantly looking for opportunities to pay attention to that, because that rings loud and clear with our staff on our surveys. In addition to that, 7 of our Inspiring Leadership Academy participants, you'll hear more about that this evening, from our chiefs of school, were hired into administrative positions. And so that has proven to be a great pipeline for us to grow exceptional talent here in the district. And in addition to that, the district currently has 4 principal fellows through the Texas Tech Partnership Program that I know that you all are familiar with. I mean, we have some exceptional talent. They have an opportunity to participate with us in leadership activities throughout the year. I mean, we've got some dynamic people in that program. Also, through our exit and survey data and our staff survey, we have found that money is one of the factors that our staff list. So the top reasons that employees choose Duncanville ISD from our survey is location. The second is recommended by a family or a friend, and the third is the reputation of the district. On the opposite of that, the reasons employees say they leave the district are they find a job in another district within the DFW area. Many times that is for a promotion, family or personal reasons, which we are seeing a lot of. And then the third reason is pay. And so we appreciate you, Board of Trustees, for listening to that concern. Great things happened for our staff this year. We conducted the TASB salary study. And you approved that 3% increase from the midpoint, plus any market adjustments for our staff, with a focus on our auxiliary employees, which we've talked about before is an area in which we compete with areas outside of education consistently. Also, an additional $11 contribution towards employee benefits premium, and then our teachers, librarians, and nurses with 1 to 5 years of experience received a $2,200 increase,
Those with 5 years of experience or more received a $2,300 increase, and our starting teaching salary is highly competitive in our area at $53,000 annually. So before I go to that slide, I will tell you one of the things that just not Texas, but the nation is having an issue with is turnover rate. So lots of people aren't entering the teaching field as they have in the past. And so in 2018, Texas saw their largest teacher turnover rate. We were at 30% as a state. That has never happened. And so it is imperative that we as a district continue to focus on this area as far as pay is concerned, and just the recognition and all of the things that we can do to encourage individuals to join the Duncanville ISD team. And finally, a future growth opportunity that's underway, which we are highly excited about. We are in the HR team in collaboration with CTE department, just submitted our grant on Friday, and so we're excited about the possibility of a Grow Your Own Stay at Home and a Grow Your Own Come Back Home program for our district. The Grow Your Own Stay at Home program would give us an opportunity for our substitutes and our paraprofessionals in the district who already hold a bachelor's degree to earn their teacher certification at no charge. And so we're hoping that we get that grant so that we're able to pour into our staff that's currently here in the district. So we can't know that there's a 30% turnover rate in the state of Texas and not start thinking creatively about what we can do about that here in the district. So that's one way. The other way is, of all of those pathways that you heard about earlier at our high school, one of them is our training and education program. And so the Grow Your Own Come Back Home is that the HR department is partnering with the training and education department to recruit students to become teachers. They will graduate with their educator certification. We will give them first opportunity to interview for paraprofessional positions that we have here in the district, with the hope that when they become certified teachers that they circle back and come to Duncanville ISD where they were grown. And so great opportunities for us, whether we get the grant or not. That is an opportunity that we are going to be looking into for our staff and for our students. I would be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Any questions, comments, discussion for Ms. Brown? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brown. We now move to information agenda item B, which is the update of the Leadership Development Program presented by Ms. Goodman and Dr. Nix.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Smith. It is my absolute pleasure to share with you the following information about our leadership program and the opportunities that our employees have to participate in leadership development. As a result of the vision of Dr. Smith, we have strategically built a leadership academy that allows employees that have aspirations to be in leadership to get education, to get application, and training of that leadership pedagogy and expertise. Ms. Goodman and myself are the primary facilitators for this Leadership Academy. The Leadership Academy centers around the Association for the Supervision of Curriculum and Development Leadership Framework, also known as the ASCD framework. Principal as a visionary, principal as an instructional leader, principal as engager, principal as learner and collaborator. Also embedded in the framework is Daniel Goldman's emotional intelligence, Susan David's emotional agility, Robert Marzano's The Art of Teaching and Learning, John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And then the most practical aspect of the academy is that the participants get a chance to learn from the real-life experiences of Ms. Goodman and myself, and learn from our mistakes and learn from the things that we have done well, and so it translates theory into practice. The goal and purpose of ILA, we know from a research standpoint that leadership is second only to a classroom instructional teacher at improving student performance. So we have to determine, how do we improve leadership among people who have aspirations to move into leadership? There's only a certain amount of time and a certain amount of energy that we have to devote to something this important. What we have done is try to increase the leadership capacity of all individuals that participate in ILA. This process to be selected is very rigorous, An email goes out at the beginning of the year to anyone who would like to participate. They fill out an application, and they also submit an essay paper. They have to have two recommendations, and one of them has to be a current supervisor. Once Ms. Goodman and I read all of the information, we go through and select the top candidates. The pictures that you see on the screen are of Ms. Goodman and I providing this year's ILA members with the book that we're using, their letter of acceptance, and the syllabus that we use to guide the learning. As we stated, the curriculum is very rigorous. It allows participants to learn theory, best practice, and practical application. Some of the concepts that we discuss are servant leadership. What does it mean to have impactful communication? What is ambitious goal setting, coaching and feedback, data-driven decision-making, organizational management, budget, human capital, conflict resolution, effective collaboration, crucial conversations, emotional intelligence. In addition to that, we bring the real-life practitioners in. They get a chance to hear from, ask questions from Dr. Bidby in finance. You're not going to find anybody better than that. HR, Kathleen Brown comes in and talks to them about the real-life leadership of HR and those decisions and communications and so forth, and operations. So they have an opportunity to interact and learn from these real-life individuals. These participants are challenged at a very high level to be able to apply what is learned during each session into their current position, because leadership is not about a title, it's a mindset. So people who aspire to be in leadership positions should be demonstrating leadership now, not just when they get the title. Another part of the program is doing what we call action learning projects. Action learning is the process that involves a small group working on real problems. So what we do is divide everyone into ILA into small teams, and they have to come up and identify a challenge that we have at the district level or at a campus level, and they have to provide a solution to that challenge. The caveat to this is that they cannot request any additional personnel or any additional resources, because there is a belief out there that to solve every problem needs more people and more money. And unfortunately, that's not steeped in research. And so to help them develop a solution-oriented mindset, to help them start to think through being able to overcome challenges and overcome barriers as leaders, this is what they go through this process. And at the end of the year, they spend the whole year doing this. At the end of the year, they and their group come up with a solution to a district or a campus problem, and they get so innovative. Just as an example, 2 years ago, something that we're still using as a district, a group came up with, and Mr. Chase is here today, he and his group came up with an idea to take the administrators out of the process of providing feedback to teachers. So providing opportunities for teachers to see each other, to view each other through the swivel, to upload each other's videos, to learn from each other, to provide input from each other, to grow from each other, housed in Duncanville. And that was just something that was great, that was started then, still goes on today. It came right out of ILA. An extended leadership capacity building opportunity for existing leaders is a component of ILA that we call ambassadors. Several of these individuals, these APs, went through the Principal Leadership Academy in previous years. These individuals were selected because there's an extension that needs to take place for the students to continue to learn. We have set up a Google Classroom for each of the ILA participants to go to extend the conversations that we're having in class. Also, that we know in leadership that the best way to grow is to teach. And so Mr. Williams, Ms. Smith, Dr. Drake, Ms. Robinson, and Mr. Williams, these are assistant principals in our district. And they have taken it upon themselves to be a part of ILA, to mentor, to coach, to teach, and to be right alongside the learning of every ILA member. They meet they take their time to meet with us as chiefs of schools to understand what our vision is, what we're trying to accomplish. And then they go forth and just make sure that these individuals are successful. Giving them an opportunity to extend their learning, giving them an opportunity to go outside the walls of their school and just continue to exhibit leadership outside of what they're usually doing. As a matter of fact, one of our ambassadors from last year was promoted, used those skills, and is now using them as the first year and proud principal of Central Elementary, Miss Ayanna Parker. We believe that building leadership is one of the most important things that we can do in education. Promoting collaborative problem solving, using data to identify and plan for needed change, utilizing systems thinking to establish a clear focus, and shared responsibility for being great. We spend a lot of time talking to ILA members about being great. We give them examples about being great. What is great? So because we talk about greatness all the time, we need to give them an opportunity to see what it looks like. The pictures that you see on the board there, those are participants of our most recent graduating class of ILA last year. In 2016 and 17, we had 12 participants. 7 of them were promoted. 2017 and 18, we had 18 participants and 3 were promoted. And then, of course, the pictures that you see there of the 17 participants from last year, 7 of them were promoted. Our current ILA has 16 participants, and we expect many of them to move into leadership positions in the future. We are excited about developing leadership capacity in Duncanville, and we are absolutely focused and strategic to making sure that we develop quality leaders and that they add value to our district. It will be my pleasure to entertain any comments or questions that you may have about our Leadership Academy at this time.
Questions, comments?
I would like to say, I think it's such a great program where we're growing people, like Concord Church says, we grow people.
Right.
We're growing people here,
Yes,
and it's amazing. I love it. Thank you, Dr. Smith, and your team for putting this together, because it's great to see our people grow and feel like they're needed and wanted right here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Just one question. If you're a participant 1 year, can you re-enroll or be a repeat offender the next year?
You know, it's amazing that you asked that, because last year, that's what we received. We received so many requests to continue the learning that what Dr. Lamb and I did last year was we just started what was called Aspiring Leadership Continued Program. And what we just did was we just took of our time and we continued the learning for anyone that's been in past programs that want to continue to do it. It's just a labor of love. Right. We are going to commit to building capacity in those who want to learn and those who want to grow. And that's just what we do.
Thank you for
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it all.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Nix.
You're so welcome.
We now have Ms. Richard for the Communications and Public Relations report. Is this where we stand up and do jumping jacks? Or
Wake up, stretch. We're in the home stretch right here. All right, so, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith, I'm come back before you this evening to talk and give you an update about the Communications Public Relations Department. I'd like to start first with just introducing my team. So often we're out telling stories, but people don't always know the people behind the stories. For example, the people who are behind putting that video together, the newsletters. I want you to understand the people who do the work. And so I wanted to introduce my team. First up, I want to introduce Ms. Laurie Berger. Laurie, stand. Laurie is a director in the department. She does much more than just external communications and media. She is my second. She's my backup. If ever there's a need, she steps in really quickly and she really gets what we're trying to do. And so she's a great support in that role. I'd also like to ask Ms. Lucy Lopez to stand. Lucy's communication specialist. You know her primarily from social media. So when you think about social media in the district, Lucy is the person who is managing our social media accounts, but also monitoring the other district accounts, because, you know, we got to keep an eye on what's being said about us and what our students are saying and so forth. So Lucy does quite a bit of that. And then Hillary Hobson. Hillary is our videographer and graphic designer. Hillary started with us in January of last year. And she's been a great addition, wonderful creativity as we've been seeing across the board. And then next I have Miss Kim Bauer. Kim is our district webmaster. She is the newest member of the team, but is not new to the district. She had previously actually been the webmaster here in the district. I found an opportunity to return home, and we are so ecstatic to have her back. She's been a wonderful addition and really just adds to the connectivity in the team that we have. And then last but not least, I have Ms. Carol Ritteman. Carol is the communications secretary. She is our veteran on the team. She is our foundational piece. She keeps us in line. Anyone who knows Carol knows that she provides really great history for where we've come from, but also is really moving us forward and keeping us connected to where we can go next. So as we go into these next pieces, I wanted you to know the people behind those pieces. So when it comes to communications, it always starts with a story, right? We're here to tell stories about what's going on and help people understand what happens here in the district. And the best way to do that is to tell a story. Whenever we can, we love getting our stories far out as we can. The broadest reach we can get primarily is through broadcast, television, and print news. So we recognize that these news outlets have much further reach than we could ever get on our own. And so the moments when we can get our stories in a positive way out on these platforms, that's always a great thing. Since my time here, Laurie and I have been really narrowing down and making sure that we can keep a focus on what do those numbers look like. Because we can tell stories, but there's always numbers behind it. Our campuses have data they have to report. My team members have data they have to report also, so that we know what we're doing and we can make adjustments along the way. In 2018-2019, last school year, we saw more than $13 million worth of news coverage. That's 939 stories. Of those, 165 of those stories were generated from us. So that wasn't someone coming to us and saying, hey, I want to do this story. This was us pushing those stories out and sharing them and encouraging others to pick those up. And when you talk about $13 million worth of coverage, that's the equivalent to what people are paying in high dollar ads to be able to get their stories out there. But because of the work that's done on our end, we're able to get them out there and get that information out there at no cost to the district. So that's the equivalent cost of running those stories in that ad value space. So I just wanted you to recognize what we're doing. Last year, December was the month where we had the highest number of news stories, 320 stories. That was obviously during our high point with the football season. So there was a lot of news coverage at that point in time. So that's an element when we do get a lot of coverage. So obviously we want to get our story out every way we can, but we also recognize that we've got to do the work ourselves. And so that's where the platforms that we have and that we own and operate are the ones that we're also utilizing. So that would be social media. That would be our e-newsletter. We put out an electronic newsletter every week. Every Monday you'll see staff news goes internally, and then externally we have the Informer newsletter. So we recognize the importance of making sure that we're telling the stories consistently across multiple platforms. So the same story you may see on the website, you will see in the e-newsletters, you will see on social media, you will see them in quarterly magazines. So you'll see us pitching them to news, you'll see them in news releases. We don't just do things one time. We do it across multiple platforms so they have the better opportunity for people to gather that information. We recognize that people don't gather their information any one way. The same way I may gather information is not the same way that someone next to me might, of a different age, a different background. They might think differently. And so we're making sure that we're going across all those platforms when we can. And when it comes to social media in particular, in Lucy's time here, she's only been here a little over a year, we've seen higher engagement on social media than we had previously. So in that 1 year time frame, we had engagement on social media in the hundreds. We may have a couple hundred or 500 in terms of that engagement mark. Now we're seeing 2,000 to 3,000 consistently in engagement. And it's because we're very strategic with the way we post information. We're also spending more time making sure that we're connecting with people. So you don't just post information and walk away. You also need to comment. You need to reply to people whenever they ask you questions because they know that that's a resource for being able to get answers. If we're going to be on the platforms, we have to truly be on the platforms and making sure that we are responding. So that when we do have an incident that is not positive and people need answers, they know where to go. And then we have to be ready to respond. And so we're seeing a definite increase of engagement there. And when we talk about being across all platforms, that includes making sure that we are reaching out to people and how they want to get information. So we will do mailers home. You'll see in the last few years, we've done more mailers directly to homes, knowing that we need to target those people who aren't coming to us for information. We've got to go to them. And so we make sure that we get things to their homes, that we use the voter registration list, and making sure that we're reaching out to those individuals, those addresses we have of people who don't have kids in the school district. So they're not getting the emails, they're not getting the information, they're not following us on social media necessarily. But we've got to make sure that we're talking to them. So that's where we have the mailers come in. And in addition, we recognize the need for our quarterly magazine. We actually relaunched our quarterly magazine that we had more than a year ago because we weren't really happy with the product. We were using outside vendor to create this. So we rebranded and relaunched just this month. And so Inspire is the new magazine. We decided to design it in-house and develop it in-house. We already are creating all the stories anyway. These are the same stories that we are putting on all those platforms we've discussed previously. And so if we're going to do that, we might as well do it the best way we can to make sure it gets to the homes it needs to. These go directly to campuses. We also have printed versions that are going to local businesses also. And then we will also do a mailing list we talk about targeted mailing, that voter registration list, making sure it's going to those individuals because we want to make sure our stories are going as far as they can. So this is our fall edition. You'll see a winter edition in February, I believe, and those moments you'll be able to continue to see the collective of our stories in one single platform. And again, those are for people who may not get it other ways. And then when we talk about the many platforms we use, the foundational platform, the one piece that everyone comes back to is our website. So the district website, when you think about that, that's the place where no matter where else you push your information, people are going to Google, and what's going to come up is DuncanvilleISD.org. So they're going to come there for information. And so this is the data that we're starting to see and collect consistently. Ms. Bauer does an impressive job at collecting that information and organizing it in a way that we can really get more bang for our buck out of it. And we make decisions on the website based on the information we're getting in. So we're optimizing what people can gather and the information they're getting from there. And based on that, this sort of information that we're getting, we're also circling back and looking at revamping our website. It's more than time for us to do that. And so we have a two-phase process for that. The first phase is to do a general refresh. We know that we need to provide our customers with something now because the way the website's set up right now, it's a little busy. It's hard to know where you need to go. So we need to clean that up. And so streamline the access that people can use to get the information they need so that people don't come in looking at multiple locations. We sort of have taken the information about where they're going and make that the most prominent parts of the website. And so we're going to streamline that, and that'll happen next month. You'll start seeing more information about that. We've already had a web focus group to discuss what we need to do, what they need to see. That web focus group included parents, teachers, and some staff. We've also gone to some students and talked to them. And then we have a survey out right now where we're asking for additional feedback just to make sure that what we've received aligns with what other people are saying too. So we want that feedback to guide us in the direction we go with, number one, the new template. Second, after that refresh, we're going with a new website vendor, which means we are going to relaunch into a new whole platform. The current vendor we have has been a good support system, but it's time to go in another direction. And so based on that, in summer of 2020, we will have an entirely new platform. The goal is to take this refresh next month and start heading in that direction. People don't like a lot of change, so we want to head them in that direction, and then the full revamp will be in the summer of 2020. And so Kim and I and the rest of the team have been working really diligently to get us there. Here is the look of what the refreshed website, based on the information we've gathered, this is the direction we're going. You'll see that the access points are much more streamlined. You don't have columns up and down each side and across the top, multiple layers. There are mega menus, which means if you scroll across some of those upper menus without having to click, you'll automatically see some other options that you can choose. And so you're able to get just a lot more detail and focused information as opposed to having just broad search information. We recognize the need to do so. And so this is just the first step as we move forward and try to provide our customers with a website that is much more user-friendly and effective for what we're doing. And then, of course, Dr. Smith has already mentioned this, and you've seen it across the district, the My Future, My Choice. The one thing that we know and recognize that we have to do to, number one, draw students back to the district and continue to tell our story about what we have available in the district is to really have targeted marketing campaigns that go into detail about what we have to offer. So that's what My Future, My Choice is. It's talking about what the district has to offer in that one single high school campus, but also throughout the district as a whole. And so you'll see more of this over the next coming weeks, more targeted information. Dr. Smith will be reaching out and sharing the specifics about what we are offering, from the billboards to the commercial and where those will be playing, additional marketing efforts. We want to make sure that you're connected and you know exactly what those are, but these are just the first steps in that process as the high school starts their choice enrollment next month, and then our middle school's in January. And so this is leading into that period where our parents need to know what they have, what options are out there for their kids here in the district. And so you'll see more of this coming forward. I will gladly answer any questions you may have.
Where are the billboards located?
The billboards are currently at 3 main locations, and there's one that's two-sided. So at Main Street and 67, the Field House location, we have actually both sides of that billboard. So if you exit Main Street heading south, you'll see it. And if you head north, if you're facing north, you can't exactly head north on the service road there, but if you're facing north, you'll see it. So we chose the Field House location because it is a very high traffic area during the tournament season for this month and next month. So that's one location. The other is on I-20. If you're heading east on I-20, just past 67, you'll see it to your right there on the south side of 20. So that's another prominent one. And the other one is heading a little further east. It's at 20 and Lancaster Road. And we're still implementing other billboards as we move forward. Those are digital, but the printed ones take a little longer to roll out because they have to actually print them before they implement them. But when those locations are available, I'll make sure Dr. Smith has a map with all of that information on it so you guys will have access to that.
Thank you.
Any more comments? Thank you, Ms. Richard. I feel your pain. Are you okay?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, moving right along, we have Melissa Cates with the first reading of TASB Localized Policy Update 113.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Smith. Tonight we have before you TASB Update 113. Over the last several months, we have been revamping, updating, completely bringing up to code, laws, statutes, everything, our local policies. We began that in the summer, going through each one of our policies. While we were in that process, TASB has sent out 2 separate updates. Most of them have to do with the new legislation and the laws that have come out of the legislature. So this is the first reading, and before you we have Update 113. I'll take that one first. There are several different policies on all different areas. Like I said, most of those were policies that were from the beginning of the legislative session that TASB rolled out. And so I would be happy to answer any questions. I will tell you in your packet, the document that was in your board book, it also has the legal, but if the board will recall, the board does not vote on the legal. Those are all for TASB. We're only asking for consideration of the local. So the way our policies are set up, we only have a first reading. We'll bring these back to you next month for adoption. On Update 113, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Ms. Cates? I made several notes, but I'll probably bother Dr. Smith with them.
Okay.
Any comments or questions for Melissa? Well, you could just stay right up there and tell us all about Update 114.
Okay, thank you. Update 114 is the final local policy update from the legislative session. There are a lot more policies in that. That's why it took a little bit longer. So again, these are new policies that will also be included in our policy manual update. And we will bring these to you next month as well for adoption.
Questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cates. We now move to communications from citizens. We have none. Being that there is no further items to discuss, this gives me an opportunity to wish you all a very blessed Thanksgiving. We are very thankful for you. This meeting is adjourned.